Omega Strikers has revamped its old training system. It's now referred to as Gear and Awakenings. To celebrate, I'm going to make a tier list of every single awakening. But first, I'm going to go through every single awakening that's currently available. If you want to skip ahead and skip straight to the tier list, feel free to click on the timestamps below. Spark of Focus gains 2 cooldown rate plus 8 per spark. Same with Spark of Resilience, except it's 50 stagger or 200 per spark. Spark of Strength is again the same with 4 power or 16 per spark. And Spark of Agility to finish it off gives you 2% speed or 8% per spark. Quick Strike reduces your strike ability cooldown by 25%. Strikes will also give you an additional energy. Aerials. This is one of many awakenings that are very similar. This particular one gets increased haste, blink, and dash effects by 75%, and projectiles gain 35% travel or cast range. Bulk Up gives you 250 max stagger plus 1.5 power per 100. With 250 max stagger and a speed boost per 100, peak performance is very similar to Bulk Up. Heavy Impact changes your impact abilities to hit 15% harder. When you hit 2 or more targets, its cooldown is reduced by 25%. Glass Cannon gets you 10 power and 5% speed every 2.5 seconds, up to 40 and 20%. Getting hit resets the timer. Big Fish gets you 40% size and 300 max stagger. Chrono Boost is another dash, blink, and haste buff, and this one gives buffs and debuffs 35% longer duration. Stacks on Stacks get you 6 speed per hit up to 100 stacks. Your stacks will reset if you get knocked out. Tempo Swing heals you for 4% of your max stagger and deals that same amount of damage to the target hit. Timeless Creator makes your creations 50% bigger and gains 70% duration. Unstoppable gives you 90% knockback resistance when not staggered and 10% damage reduction. Stagger Swagger gets you 4% speed while below 50% health. This effect increases to 40% and you heal 100 stagger per second while in the staggered state. 1-2 Punch gets you 25% more damage against targets you've hit within the last 2.5 seconds. Prize Fighter gives you stacks with KOs, giving you 1 stack to begin with a max of 3. Getting KO'd removes a stack. Extra Special reduces your special's cooldown by 35% and resets its cooldown every face-off. Stinger hits bonus damage equal to 12% of the enemy's maximum stagger. Built Different gives you 40% size, your impact abilities will hit 15% harder. Adrenaline Rush gives you 1 second of cooldown reduction and a speed boost whenever you get a KO, as well as more cooldown. Hotshot makes you hit the core harder and it refunds 30% of the ability's cooldown per cast. Prime Time gives your primary ability 1 charge and it hits 10% harder. Monumentalist makes your creations gain 100% size and hit 20% harder. Cast the Last makes your buffs and debuffs last 70% longer and your creations last 35% longer. Super Surge is another dash, blink, and haste effect, except it gives those abilities 20% more damage. Twin Drive gives your secondary another charge and it gives it 10% reduced cooldown. Perfect Form reduces your ability cooldowns by hitting up to 1.2 seconds per hit. Missile Propulsion make your projectiles gain 70% travel and hit 15% harder. Deadeye makes you hit 35% harder against targets at 600 range. Rapid Fire makes your primary cooldown reduced by 33%. Specialized Training makes your special hit 50% harder and heals 50% more depending on what it does. Alright, starting with Adrenaline Rush. 1 second cooldown with 100% speed when you get a takedown. I'm going to say that's an A tier. That is if you don't really have anything else, that is a really good pick on just about any champion. 1 second cooldown on all your abilities is really strong. Aerials. So this is going to be a projectile ability. Most of the time I'm going to skip aerials on basically anyone that I'm playing. I realistically don't play any of the champions that would use aerials at all. Big Fish, I'm going to go ahead and put that in an S tier. It is really, really good for 2 reasons. The size is huge if you're doing brawler type activities. And then getting 300 max stagger, not only does that help you not die, but that's also going to stack on a lot of other awakenings here. So, Built Different. I'm going to go ahead and put that at a B tier. The size is really good and the impact abilities is really good. Don't get me wrong, but I just think that there are better options if you can find them. It is a good pick, to get that 40% size if there's not really something else going, but a lot of the times you should be able to get something that'll buff your specific situation a little bit better than what Built Different is going to give you. So next up we got Bulk Up. This one is huge. I'm going to put that in A tier. It's an almost always pick ability unless there is something in the S tier on the board. The reason is the same reason that I put Big Fish in the S tier, is because it stacks on things. So it gives you 250 stagger and more power the more stagger you have. So if you get that once, then you know you can then start stacking stagger and you will also get power at the same time. Cast to Last. This one I'm going to go ahead and put in B tier. For the champions that I play, I mean, it's really good on X. In my opinion, it's one of the best ones that you can have on X. It doesn't buff your dash or anything like that, but at least for someone who personally plays X, I don't think that's a bad thing. It also has a lot of other things with a lot of other champions as well. So Cast to Last is a really good one. It's an almost always pick on X for me, but you know, sometimes other things are better. Chrono Boost. So this one is going to be good if you have dashes and hastes. This one I'm going to put in C tier. It's an okay pick. It does stack with Cast to Last, so with someone like X, if you're able to literally double the amount of time that your ult lasts, that's pretty strong. Deadeye, I'm going to put that in C tier. There is situations where Deadeye is extremely strong on certain characters, but not for what I play at all. Actually, I'm going to throw that down to D tier. You'll never catch me picking that, but that's just my playstyle. Extra Special. This one is going to be A tier in my opinion. So the thing with Extra Special is the cooldown reduction is huge on basically any character, but also the ability to start the face-off with your ultimate is really, really strong in a lot of cases. So I would put that in an A tier, almost always picking that one. So we got Glass Cannon next. I'm going to put that at a C tier if you play goalie. That is an A or S tier pick. The Glass Cannon is really, really strong. Generally, I will only pick that as a brawler if I am absolutely popping off and there is no chance that they're even going to touch me. That's the only time that I'll be picking that one, unless I'm a goalie. Heavy Impact. So I'm going to put Heavy Impact right with the B tier situation. It is really good for the cooldown reduction, but again, I just personally feel that the percentage on just one type of ability does not necessarily give as much of an impact as something else could. The 15% on only impact abilities, most characters only have the one impact ability, and so it throttles your potential a little bit, you know, taking up an awakening spot on something that only affects one ability, and only with a 15% damage increase. Whereas, for example, if you picked Big Fish or you had Big Fish and you picked Bulk Up, that's going to give you a lot more than 15% more damage. Sure, you're not going to get the cooldown, but you have a lot more value out of what you picked. Hot Shot. I'm going to put that at an A tier. That is an incredible sleeper pick. Oh my goodness, I got the wrong one. Hot Shot. I'm going to go ahead and do Hot Shot as... I'm going to put Hot Shot in the B tier. So Hot Shot is a really good situational item. If you and your teammate are playing really, really well together and you're able to do like cross map shots and you're passing really well and things like that, Hot Shot is going to be a really good pick, so you can make those passes crisper and those shots more accurate. So it's really good. It also gives you some cooldown reduction. Never a bad move to get some cooldown reduction while you are playing. Missile Propulsion. I'm going to go ahead and slap this down in the D tier. You'll never catch me picking it, but that's my playstyle. As well as the Monumentalist. So both of those are going to be things that I don't pick. Monumentalist and Missile Propulsion on their own as abilities if you're playing ranged or creation type champions. Really strong. Really strong. But for what I do, nope, I don't pick them. Don't pick them, don't play them. 1-2 Punch. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the... It's a hard one. I'm going to put this in the B tier. I'm saying B tier because it's going to be one of those ones where if you don't have, like, if it's filled with a whole bunch of C and D tiers, this is going to be an okay pick. It'll give you enough damage if you can get consecutive hits, but a lot of the times there's going to be a situation where other things are going to take priority in the way that I play. So peak performance, same with bulk up. I think it's one of the better ones that you can pick. Peak performance, it gives you, again, more stagger and then the ability to stack on how much stagger you have. That is, being able to stack different trainings on top of each other are really the shining light into characters that scale to late game and characters that don't. Obviously you can't always commit to doing late game because you might lose before you get there, but I would say that anything that scales with other awakenings is going to be really good. So next we have Perfect Form. This one is also going to be an A tier. Perfect Form is extremely good on a lot of characters that have many tap type hits. They're like little tappy type hits, or if you can get multiple hits off with a single ability, that's going to be really, really, really strong. Like for example with X, if you hit your ult, you can auto attack, and each auto attack is going to reduce your other ability cooldowns. Very good, very strong. Prime Time, I'm going to go ahead and put that in an A tier. There are times where Prime Time is broken, absolutely overpowered. But it's not for everyone. Not every champion is going to be really, really strong with Prime Time. So, Prize Fighter, I'm going to put that at a B tier. It has the potential of being stupid strong. The only problem is that when you pick things like this, when you pick that, excuse me, when you pick that, if you pick stacks on stacks, you then put a target on your back. And so people are going to target and make sure that you don't have the stacks to be able to become strong. But if you do get it and you can keep it, it is extremely powerful at max stacks. Quick Strike, I'm going to put that in an A tier. Quick Strike is a fantastic one with goalies, and if you're just doing brawling. There are other things that I would say are better picks than Quick Strike, but I would say that Quick Strike is definitely on the always pick list for almost any champion if there's nothing specific to your build going on. Rapid Fire, I'm going to put at a C tier. I generally won't find myself needing only cooldown reduction on only one ability. There's just more things that you could get with that slot. It is good in specific situations, as all things are, but me personally, I'll rarely be picking that one. So, next, I'm going to go ahead and move the sparks to the end so we can have a whole discussion about them. So, we got Specialized Training. Is that what that one is? Yes, Specialized Training. So Specialized Training is going to be a very strong if you use your ultimate kind of training. So a lot of the times what will happen is if you have one or two things that are also buffing your ultimate already, Specialized Training is going to be absolutely key. Me personally, I'm going to find it around the B tier. It has its place a lot of the time, but I won't pick it if I'm trying to do something else. But there are times that if you stack a couple things together with Specialized Training, it is going to be absolutely massive. Stacks on Stacks, I'm going to put that in an A tier. It's very similar to the KO Prize Fighter, but in my opinion, Stacks on Stacks, when it's not fully stacked, is still valuable. It's also extremely easy to get it stacked up, and so it's not much of a loss if you lose it. And so Stacks on Stacks, when it hits 100 stacks, is extremely powerful and will give you a winning edge at that point in the game. So definitely keep that in mind when you're choosing. Stagger Swagger, I'm probably going to say, is a pretty good sleeper one. Actually, I'm going to put it down to C tier. I don't pick it very often, mostly because survivability, in my opinion, is reliant entirely on how much stagger you have, not how quickly you can recover your stagger when you are staggered. And with that being said, you do get the speed boost, but 4% is not necessarily that great. And then once you get popped, you know, when you lose all of your health, it's like a 35% chance that you're also dying in the next 5 seconds. So in my opinion, it's a good ability, but there are much better things to pick. Stinger. Now this one's going to be a controversial one. In my opinion, it is an S tier ability. 12% flat damage for every single strike on every ability that you have is absolutely insane amounts of damage. And it's not 12% more damage to the ability, it's 12% of the opponent's stagger damage. So in theory, if you hit someone with 5 abilities, no matter how powerful they are, you absolutely annihilated them and you got them to 0 stagger. So I personally think that this might need a nerf. Every time I've gotten it and picked it, I have just absolutely annihilated the game from that point onwards. But that's just my opinion. So yeah. Super Surge is going to be really good on a lot of characters. I'm not going to be picking it anytime. I personally don't like having my dash's length modified unless I'm playing a character like Zentaro or Amy where their dash is already very long, and so it makes it feel better when the dash is longer. But when it's a very slow moving and impact kind of a dash, I personally don't like messing with what the distance of that dash is. Tempo Swing, I'm going to put that at an A tier. Tempo Swing is very similar to Stinger, except it also heals you. It's not nearly as powerful. It doesn't give you too much more, but 4% of your stagger per hit is a pretty good rate of damage. But what makes it an A tier is because of that healing effect. So if you're in a brawl with a whole bunch of people, you then are able to out-survive everyone in that brawl. Which, if you're in a situation where the entire enemy is low on health and you haven't gone down at all, that is a game-changing situation. So everyone's going to start backing off and you can kind of do what you want to do. Timeless Creator, I'm going to put that at a D tier. I'm not going to be picking that, unfortunately for me. I don't really play characters that make creations. It is an essential perk for characters that do make creations. So if you're a character or a player like me that doesn't really pick things like that, always leave that for your carries that are doing creations. So that's my 2 cents on that one. Twin Drive, I'm gonna go ahead and put this right next to Prime Time because it's Prime Time. It's the same thing. It's amazing on characters that it's amazing on. And the additional cooldown reduction is really, really good. So, Unstoppable, I'm going to put at an A tier. So, Unstoppable, actually, I might change that to an S tier because honestly, Unstoppable changes the entire game from that point on how you're able to play. 90% knockback resistance makes you fearful, and so when people try and knock you out and then all of a sudden you're still just walking forward because you have 90% knockback resistance, that's a pretty big change in how people are going to play around you. And so I would feel like Unstoppable is going to be an S tier perk, and it will change the tide of the game. So next we have all of the Sparks. Now everyone has their own opinion on the Sparks. My personal opinion is that they all belong in S tier. There is a time and a place for Sparks, and if you can acquire 4 Sparks, if you can acquire even 3, even 2 Sparks is worth the 2 spots. There is an incredible amount of potential when it comes to the Sparks themselves. So, for each Spark that you get, you're going to be becoming exponentially more powerful. There is no real reason to do it unless you're unless you decide that you're doing that. There's no reason to just pick one. There's no reason to steal one from another player. It's kind of a waste as a single perk. But if you can get 2, 3, or even 4, you will become unstoppable. Especially if you're able to get the stagger one, and then maybe even a bulk up or a peak performance on top of that. That's going to be a huge stacking boost, and that is going to make a massive difference in the actual game itself. So, alright, that's my tier list, and that's all of the awakenings explained for you. Please give a like and subscribe. I'm going to put this tier list in the description. Please make your own. I personally am a brawler, so this is going to be only speaking to people who play exactly like I do. But with that being said, if you play a completely different role, fill this out. I want to know where you stand. I want to know what your opinions are. Alright,